can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave.
We knew Diddy was done with the family when CNN released that raw footage, and it was the final nail in the coffin for the music mogul. Now that he is facing the music in court during the trial, something crazy happened, and CASSIE finally opened up. But it's obvious that Diddy's time there didn't calm his crazy vibes. Word is that he totally lost it. Let's move on to her testimony. On May 13, 2025, CASSIE Ventura spills the beans in court. In his infamous sex trafficking and racketeering trial, CASSIE Ventura took the stand in a Manhattan federal courtroom, exposing her former partner Sean Diddy Combs. The singer, who rose to fame under Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment, was dropping bombs as the prosecution's star witness, detailing 10 years of unrelenting physical, emotional, and sexual abuse that began when she was just 19 and ended when he was 37. Her testimony was straight fire, full of pain, real talk, and hood vibes that portrayed Diddy as a kingpin who ran her life like a trap house. CASSIE kept it a buck, claiming that her relationship with Diddy began as a music industry hookup when she signed to his label, but quickly turned into a controlling, toxic mess. She claimed that Diddy was that charming guy who moved like a shot caller, controlling every aspect of her life, from her hairstyle to her outfits, to who she could even chop it up with. Prosecutors claim that Diddy's power trip was the foundation of his alleged criminal hustle, where he would manipulate and take advantage of women like pawns in his game. The most outrageous part of CASSIE's testimony was when she became candid about these so-called freak-offs, drug-fueled X-rated parties, which Diddy allegedly set up and recorded like he was directing a movie. CASSIE's voice trembled, as if she were reliving the drama. These clubs took place at upscale hotels, and Diddy's cribs in places like LA, NYC, and Miami, frequently using fictitious names like Frank Black to keep it low-key. CASSIE claimed that Diddy would put her on the spot and urge her to go down with male escorts as he sat back and watched the camera roll. Holding back tears, CASSIE claimed that Diddy kept her sedated with drugs like ketamine and cocaine to force her to comply, and that those tapes were used as leverage to keep her silent. She said that these sessions, which occasionally lasted 4 days, had completely violated and trashed her feelings. Prosecutors claimed that Diddy coerced women into complying with his demands, making these freak-offs the core of the sex trafficking accusations. CASSIE also revealed that Diddy would physically assault her, leaving her with black eye bruises and a cracked lip. "He'd smack me up and then act like it was all good," she added, revealing how he would attempt to patch it up with presents or phony apologies just to repeat the behavior. Prosecutors aired a 2016 hotel security clip that had already leaked to the public, shaking the courtroom as they showed Diddy chasing CASSIE down a corridor, throwing her to the ground, and kicking her as if she were nothing. The evidence left, everyone in the room gasping, supporting her account 100 times. CASSIE claimed that being beaten down wasn't an isolated incident, but rather a trend that left her living in constant fear, as if she had to avoid landmines every day, while she was giving her all. Despite his legal team's claims that he is innocent and that CASSIE and others are spinning tales for clout or a check, Diddy was posted up at the defense table looking unfazed in a tan suit, writing notes as if he was just chilling. Diddy's my team hasn't cross-examined CASSIE yet, but rumors have it they're going to try to find flaws in her story. More witnesses, including other women with similar allegations, are anticipated to testify shortly as the feds build a case that Diddy was running an entire operation utilizing his financial influence and business connections to keep victims silent and evade the law. Although CASSIE's testimony virtually sealed the deal, there have been other significant witness testimonies that have come to light. Daniel, on the first day of the trial, Philip, a 41-year-old male dancer and escort, testified that CASSIE had hired him to have sex with her while Diddy watched. The details of Philip's encounters with Diddy and Ventura rocked the courtroom. Philip claimed that his relationship with Ventura and Diddy began in 2012 when he was hired to strip at what he believed to be a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel in Manhattan. However, he claimed that the gig soon developed into paid sex sessions with Ventura, with Diddy always in the cut. Philip claimed that he was paid between $700 and $6,000 per session, with some sessions lasting up to 10 hours. He claimed that Diddy handled the payments, but Diddy was always present, allegedly managing his business, and that Diddy gave him detailed instructions on how to get down with Ventura during these encounters, which were occasionally captured on camera or Diddy's phone. One of the most upsetting aspects of Philip's testimony was when he described witnessing Diddy put hands on Ventura several times. In one instance, he claims he saw Diddy throw a bottle at Ventura, grab her by the hair, and drag her into a bedroom when she failed to show up when he called her another time. Philip also testified about a particularly bizarre incident in which Diddy allegedly told him to do something that caused Ventura to choke, which Philip said was messed up. This testimony supports the prosecution's claims that Diddy planned and controlled these sexual encounters occasionally in ways that could cause harm to people. According to Philip's evidence, Ventura ran out of the room without wearing any clothes and jumped into Philip's lap, shivering wildly, after Diddy allegedly pulled her by her hair into a bedroom while she was screaming, and Philip heard slaps. Philip said that he didn't intervene or contact the police regarding these instances. The prosecution's portrayal of Diddy as someone who used intimidation and fear to keep people in check is consistent with Philip's claim that he was afraid for his life and that Diddy had threatened him by snapping a piece of his driver's license. Philip asked Ventura why she was still with Diddy despite the abuse and warned her about how dangerous it was to stay with him, but she reportedly didn't provide a clear response. Philip also claimed he would have done the encounters with Ventura for free, implying he had feelings for her, which the defense later used to try to discredit him on May 13, 2025. During cross-examination, Diddy's defense lawyer, Xavier Donaldson, attacked Philip, attempting to paint him as a hater who was envious of Diddy and had feelings for Ventura and wanted to shoot his shot with her. The defense also attempted to catch Philip slipping on inconsistencies in his earlier statements, but Philip retaliated by correcting Donaldson several times when false information was presented. Diddy's legal team painted Philip as an unreliable witness, highlighting the fact that their client's interactions with Ventura were voluntary and not trafficking. This approach aligns with the defense's overarching strategy of portraying the alleged freak-offs as voluntary rather than coerced or exploitative. The entire testimony was characterized as intense, with jurors pre-screened to ensure they could handle this type of content. Philip's testimony presented a troubling picture of alleged abuse and coercion, and it was so explicit that Diddy's daughters left the courtroom during a particularly graphic part. This back and forth demonstrates how heated this trial is and the difficulties the prosecution confronts in proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt before Phillips. The defense's cross-examination attempted to throw doubt on his credibility and motivations. Israel Flores, a former LAPD officer who worked security at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, was the first witness to testify on May 12, 2025. About a 2016 incident in which Diddy was captured on camera putting hands on his then-girlfriend CASSIE Ventura. Flores described what happened on March 5, 2016, when he responded to a drama at the Intercontinental Hotel. The jury saw the surveillance footage that showed Diddy wild out on Ventura in the hotel hallway, beating, kicking, and dragging her back to their room. This video, which CNN leaked back in May 2024, is a crucial piece of evidence for the prosecution, as it shows Diddy allegedly using violence to keep people in check. When Diddy's attorney, Brian Steele, cross-examined him, he attempted to find flaws in Flores' account by pointing out that Ventura had a purple eye following the incident, demonstrating that she was actually roughed up. This was all part of the defense's strategy to make witnesses appear as though they were capping. One of the most explosive parts of Flores' testimony was when he claimed that Diddy tried to give him hush money to keep quiet about what happened. Flores stated that Diddy or his people approached him with cash to ensure he didn't report the assault or discuss it. This aligns with the prosecution's claims that Diddy used his wealth and influence to conceal his actions, including allegedly paying hotel staff $100,000 for what he believed to be the only copy of the security tape. Legal analyst Misty Maris noted that it was a wise decision to show the 2016 video early because it supports the prosecution's allegation that Diddy used force, fraud, and coercion to control people in his alleged criminal activities, including the so-called freak-offs. The prosecution is using Flores' testimony to demonstrate that Diddy has a history of abusing people, particularly with regard to Ventura, who is listed as victim 1 in the documents. Other anticipated witnesses include a woman named Naya, a former employee of Diddy, who is expected to testify that Diddy repeatedly forced himself on her sexually, and a male escort who is expected to testify about witnessing Diddy rough up Ventura during the event. These witnesses could support Phillip's testimony and add to the evidence of alleged violence and coercion. But victim 3's participation is up in the air because they're having trouble getting in touch with her lawyer. This has caused extreme tension in the trial, with Diddy's defense requesting a mistrial or postponement, claiming that the uncertainty interferes with their preparation. The defense argues that it is more difficult to refute the prosecution's story since they are unsure if victim 3 will testify. In contrast, the defense claims in its opening statements that the accusers are merely attempting to obtain compensation, particularly through civil litigation, and that they were agreed-upon extravagant parties that mirrored Diddy's celebrity lifestyle. Diddy's lawyers acknowledged that Diddy had been violent, but they refuted the claims of sex trafficking and racketeering, claiming that the interactions recounted by witnesses such as Phillip were voluntary and involved strong, capable adult women. The judge has placed restrictions on Diddy's communication from jail, citing concerns about witness tampering, which highlights how serious this case is despite the damning consequences. The trial is scheduled to last 8 weeks and has garnered significant attention due to Diddy's status as a music mogul and the graphic nature of the allegation. Diddy's defense is making a compelling argument that makes people uneasy. Regarding Diddy evading the charges, will Diddy escape punishment? The 2016 video of Diddy touching Ventura is a crucial piece of evidence that the federal prosecutors, led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson, are using to support their allegation that Diddy was the leader of a criminal organization that coerced women into sexual encounters for decades. The prosecution's entire strategy is to present a comprehensive picture of a man who allegedly used his wealth, connections, and celebrity to take advantage of and control women. At the heart of their case are the claims that Diddy planned these alleged drug-fueled sex encounters, which witnesses like Daniel Phillip have described as involving hired escorts and occasionally recorded. The prosecution is attempting to demonstrate that these weren't voluntary actions, but rather were a part of a pattern of coercion and exploitation. The prosecution also highlights Diddy's alleged use of fear and intimidation to control witnesses and victims. This narrative is supported by testimony from witnesses like Phillip, who stated that he feared for his life and that Diddy had unrestricted power. Additionally, the defense team, which includes attorneys Tenny Garagos, Brian Steele, and Xavier Donaldson, is attempting to discredit the prosecution's witnesses by presenting them as untrustworthy and providing various justifications for the alleged abuse. Their strategy consists of several crucial components. First, the defense admits that domestic violence occurred, such as in 2016, but contends that these were personal relationship issues unrelated to the charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, or prostitution. They are framing the case as the government intruded into Diddy's private life, emphasizing what they describe as consensual relationships. Second, during cross-examination, the defense tries to cast witnesses like Flores and Phillip as untrustworthy by pointing out contradictions in their statements, such as information not found in Flores's initial 2016 incident report with Phillip, and implying that he might have had motives to lie, such as jealousy of Diddy or feelings for Ventura. Third, the defense presents the alleged freak-offs as voluntary adult participation. They contend that rather than being staged events, these extravagant parties were only reflections of Diddy's celebrity lifestyle, and that the accusers are merely attempting to secure the bag, particularly through legal actions. Procedural issues are also included in the court struggle. The defense had requested a 2-month trial delay, arguing that they needed more time to prepare given the massive amount of evidence, which criminal defense attorney Sean Kent, who is not involved in the case but knows defense attorney Brian Steele, described as a terabyte of information. Judge Aaron Subramanian denied this request, stating that it was too close to the trial date and that Diddy's legal team should be able to quickly organize their strategy with 4 attorneys. The judge has also made several important rulings that will influence the outcome of this trial with regard to the evidence, denying Diddy's motion to exclude evidence related to Victim 5, but granting it for other potential evidence, suggesting that there may be significant past incidents in.
If you go through all of these motions we're going to talk about, they all come to a central rule called the rule of completeness. And here's what the rule of completeness is, and it ain't complicated, it's common sense.
The prosecution must demonstrate not only that Diddy was complaining, but also that his actions were a part of a criminal enterprise involving racketeering and sex trafficking. As the trial progresses, both sides are facing significant obstacles. 3 highlights include the reported difficulty in reaching the victim. With over 60 lawsuits alleging sexual assault and exploitation, and attorney Tony Busby claiming to represent 120 accusers, the sheer volume of evidence and number of defendants present a significant challenge for the defense in maintaining the cooperation of witnesses during a drawn-out and well-publicized trial. The defense must respond to several accusations that span several decades. This is made much more difficult by the refusal of their request for a trial delay, which forces them to quickly get ready for the cross-examination of multiple witnesses. Another significant obstacle for the defense is the existence of tangible evidence, especially the 2016 security footage that depicts Diddy abusing Ventura. They must persuade the jury that, despite acknowledging the occurrence, it was the result of a personal relationship problem rather than proof of a pattern of coercive behavior connected to the criminal allegations. The atmosphere in the courtroom conveys the seriousness of the situation. According to BBC senior producer Praditya Gilio, who was in court, Diddy appeared relatively relaxed if a little solemn. She saw that he had lost weight and had grayed significantly over the past few months. He appeared to be wearing light tan prison clothes and slip-on shoes. Diddy's mother and one of his sons were present to provide support. Gilio observed Diddy looking back at his team during the proceedings, and observed that he embraced each of his lawyers as soon as he walked into the courtroom before sitting down and interacting with them.
One thing that struck me was also that when he entered the courtroom, he hugged each and every one of his lawyers before he sat down, and he engaged with them.
The federal court has strict security. Only paper and pen are allowed inside, and journalists are not allowed to use electronic devices. The courtroom was described as being fairly packed for a pre-trial hearing, with a mix of journalists, members of the public, and Diddy supporters, including one wearing a Free Puff sweatshirt. This case could lead to a day of reckoning with issues of power abuse and exploitation, which has significant ramifications for the music industry outside of the courts. An intriguing aspect of this case is how it relates to other well-known circumstances in the entertainment industry. The accusations against Diddy cover nearly his whole career, raising concerns about whether the industry supported or ignored bad behavior. There are connections between the Diddy trial and other drama, such as a lawsuit Tony Busby filed against former NFL player Shannon Sharpe, who once hosted comedian Cat Williams on his podcast and shared his opinions about Diddy. Now, Diddy is being targeted by the same attorney who is pursuing several cases against Diddy. Sharpe has categorically refuted the accusations made against him, describing the case as a clear criminal attempt to defraud Mr. Sharpe out of millions of dollars. This parallel scenario demonstrates the intricate network of accusations, denials, and court actions involving well-known figures in the entertainment sector. In the meanwhile, Ventura's testimony is intended to serve as the emotional and factual focal point of the prosecution's case. The CCTV film and her first-hand recollection could provide compelling evidence of coercion and abuse. As the trial progresses, it's critical to take into account the larger picture of the legal issues. The prosecution will face the task of handling the defense's presentation of her as a willing participant, which makes her cross-examination a pivotal moment in the trial. Attorney Tony Busby is currently representing 120 clients, and additional claims are anticipated. Diddy is facing more than 60 lawsuits alleging sexual assault and exploitation, with accusations including men, women, and youngsters. The sheer volume of claims points to a pattern of conduct that, if confirmed, would rank among the most serious instances of systematic abuse by a celebrity in modern history. The prosecution's case depends on demonstrating that Diddy operated a criminal business for more than 20 years, coercing women into sexual acts frequently with the use of drugs and violence through his financial clout and network of associates. This is a difficult standard to meet, requiring strong evidence and reliable witness testimony to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In the meantime, Diddy's defense team must deal with the absurd challenge of handling several accusations spanning several decades. Their tactic seems to be undermining the credibility of specific witnesses while arguing that any violence was only between him and his companions and not related to a criminal organization, and that any sexual interactions were voluntary. There is intense public interest in and media coverage of the legal dispute. With reporters and members of the public crammed into the courtroom, the trial at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan U.S. Courthouse in New York City has garnered significant media attention. This level of attention further complicates the proceedings, as both legal teams must manage public opinion in addition to the courtroom dynamics. The case's ramifications for the music industry extend far beyond Diddy himself. It is a possible turning point that would compel discussion about exploitation, power dynamics, and how young artists, especially women, are treated. As BBC World Service YouTube channel anchor Anushka Matan-Darty pointed out, the speed at which this case has progressed toward trial has been unexpected. The decades-long claim sparked concerns about what was known, what was disregarded, and what might be changing in terms of responsibility and oversight.
Hello and welcome back to Diddy on Trial from the BBC World Service YouTube channel with me, Anushka Matan-Darty. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a thing. How many times have we said during the prep and the build-up to this trial that it all felt a little speedy?
As the trial progresses, more witnesses will testify, more evidence will be presented, and the opposing narratives of the prosecution and defense will continue to develop. How many times have we stated that the preparation and build-up to this trial felt a little too quick? This quick pace highlights the seriousness of the charges and the court's determination to keep things moving for Diddy, who initially pushed for a speedy trial, but later requested a delay. Although the case's fate is still uncertain, it is certain that it has already significantly changed public perceptions of justice and power accountability in the entertainment sector. As we continue to follow this case, we're seeing not only the specific accusations against Diddy, but also a reckoning with systemic issues that have been a part of the entertainment industry and beyond for too long. Thank you for staying tuned, and check out more boxes on the screen. The Sean Diddy Combs trial is more than just the legal proceedings against one individual. It represents broader questions about power exploitation, accountability, and the pursuit of justice. Diddy's Das Bar world is collapsing, and it's all happening right now. First, a judge rejected Diddy's $50 million bail offer, keeping him incarcerated until trial. However, now that new rumors have surfaced indicating that Diddy is threatening the judge, stay locked in because we're about to blow it all down. Diddy's situation is getting worse every day, and even though his bail has been denied twice, there are now rumors that he may have even threatened the judge. Whether this is true or not, no one can be certain. But with everything going down, it seems like he would walk out of that courtroom with $50 million, but even that amount of money can't change the fact that he is facing some serious charges. The entire bail drama began on Tuesday the 17th, when Diddy appeared in court following his arrest. He pleaded not guilty to several serious charges, including racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and home detention, with GPS monitoring. Diddy's legal team made every effort to secure a $50 million bond, which was backed by his $48 million Miami mansion and his mother's house nearby. To demonstrate that Diddy wasn't acting, his mother and even his daughters gave their passports to his legal counsel, stating that Sean Combs has never eluded, or run from a challenge in his life. Agnil Mark Diddy voluntarily flew to New York to confront the charges head-on, according to Diddy's attorney, who spoke to the media.
Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York.
Judge Tarnowski, however, wouldn't let it go no matter how much Diddy and his team tried. She shut it down, stating that Diddy was too much of a flight risk and that it might also upset witnesses. Prosecutors presented the receipts to support their claim that Diddy had been contacting victims and witnesses in the months before his arrest in an attempt to win them over to his side and advance his version of events. That move alone raised some serious red flags, but Diddy's team wasn't going to let it go, and they filed an appeal, but this time before a different judge. They made the agreement more agreeable, said U.S. District Judge Andrew L. Carter. In addition to limiting visitors to his Miami estate to family members and caregivers and requiring weekly drug tests, Diddy also agreed to keep a record of every individual entering his home and to forbid female visitors. Diddy made a daring move that demonstrated how anxious he was to go, but it wasn't enough, Judge. Carter was not sold despite all of these requirements. Despite this, the court decided that Diddy was too dangerous to be released because of his violent past and his anger management problems, which were major factors in the judge's decision to reject his appeal. Diddy was taken directly to Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, which is renowned for being an absolute hell on earth, and that description isn't hyperbole. This facility, which is notorious for its harsh conditions, has been called a continuing tragedy. The MDC is serious business. It's like the worst of the worst inmates have been complaining for years about how crazy things are in there. We're talking out-of-control violence and conditions that are just plain cruel. On top of that, there is contraband everywhere. Drugs, phones, you name it. And occasionally staff members help smuggle things in. If that's not bad enough, there are constant lockdowns, where inmates can spend days locked in their cells with no calls, no visits, no showers, and no fresh air. Diddy is accustomed to living in mansions and private planes, so this is a completely different kind of reality. But how did we even get here? Let's go back to September 16th, the day Diddy was arrested. What's crazy is that Diddy knew the charges were pending, but he obviously didn't expect the feds to come for him that day. A few hours later, Diddy was spotted again, this time with his son Christian Combs, who was still acting carefree and completely at ease as if he was untouchable. 30 minutes before the arrest, Diddy was still hanging out with a group of friends, most likely making jokes, totally unaware that the feds were closing in on him. What began as a sunny day full of smiles ended with Diddy in handcuffs and facing one of the most serious indictments of his career. Trust me, the details of that indictment are absolutely crazy.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
The indictment against Sean Diddy Combs paints a dark picture of a world built on manipulation and abuse, with the notorious freak-offs at the center of it all. These weren't just parties. Diddy allegedly set them up, directed them, and even recorded. The whole thing, according to the indictment, Diddy and his crew used fear tactics and manipulation to lure women into his circle. It would often start off with a romantic vibe, but once they were in it became something far more twisted. These women were coerced into participating in these freak-offs where multiple sex workers were involved. It didn't end there. Diddy allegedly went all out for these events, flying in sex workers from across the globe to make sure his parties were next level. Everything had to be perfect. His team would meticulously set up the venues, making sure the most expensive bottles were lined up, and even details like fresh linens were handled with precision. Every single aspect was planned down to the finest. Detail ensuring these nights went off without a hitch back in March 2024, when federal agents raided Diddy's homes in both Los Angeles and Miami. What they found left everyone stunned: over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, along with narcotics. The sheer amount of these supplies painted a shocking picture of the scale of these events, but what really shook people were the stories of violent outbursts during these freak-offs. Authorities claimed that Diddy didn't hesitate to get physical when things didn't go his way. Diddy would kick, punch, and even drag women by their hair during these freak-offs. Women were reportedly left with serious injuries, and some needed days to recover. He used the footage from these nights as a weapon, threatening to ruin their lives if they ever spoke out about what went down. What makes these freak-offs even more disturbing is how well they were hidden back in 2012. A freak-off got so out of control that a Manhattan penthouse was trashed. Beyond recognition, Diddy had to pay $46,000 just to cover the damage, not just to replace broken furniture, but to erase any evidence of what went down that night. The indictment also digs deeper into the role of Combs' enterprise. Diddy was charged under the RICO Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act because of his network of loyal associates who helped run both his personal life and his global business. These associates allegedly did more than just assist. They used coercion, threats of violence, and deception to maintain Diddy's power, reputation, and brand. A RICO charge is no small matter. It usually aims to take down organized crime by targeting the leaders behind it all. Prosecutors claim that Diddy committed multiple offenses within a 10-year period that are connected to this larger criminal enterprise, but that's not the end of it. Police discovered a cache of guns at Diddy's pad during the raid, adding to the already mounting surprises in his indictment.
As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defined.
Following his indictment and the judge's refusal to grant him bail, Diddy's attorney came out swinging, claiming that Diddy is innocent and that he is prepared to fight the case with everything he has. Mr. Combs is a fighter, and he will fight. This to the end. He came to New York to prove his innocence, but many people find it difficult to believe him, especially after hearing all the outrageous details surrounding the accusations against him. Claims made against Diddy since November 2023. Diddy has been the target of numerous lawsuits and accusations, making it nearly impossible to keep track of them all. However, earlier this year, one of the most damaging lawsuits was filed by his former producer, Rodney, Lil Rod Jones, and believe me when I say that the lawsuit filed between September 2022 and November 2023 has some crazy details. During the months that Jones spent in Diddy's houses in Los Angeles, he was invited to record on 9 tracks for Diddy's Love album. Lil Rod wasn't just working with Diddy, he was essentially living with him. Spent weeks on a boat that Diddy rented in the U.S. Virgin Islands as well as in New York and Miami, but what started out as a promising gig quickly turned into a nightmare while vacationing with Diddy. Jones says that regardless of where they were in Los Angeles, he had to deal with inappropriate touching and groping all the time. Diddy was allegedly crossing boundaries in New York, Miami, or even on that opulent yacht. To make matters worse, according to Joan, Diddy even had him work in the bathroom while he walked around nude and flexed in the shower as if the glass enclosure didn't exist, leaving nothing to the imagination. Feeling violated and humiliated, Jones chose to voice his concerns to Christina Kororum, Diddy's chief of staff. But instead of dealing with them, Corum simply dismissed them, saying, "You know, Sean will be Sean." Like that justified everything. She minimized the entire incident by characterizing Diddy's unwanted groping as casual horseplay, as though that was meant to make it acceptable in her opinion. However, that wasn't the end of it. Lil Rod also made a shocking revelation, saying that Diddy attempted to get him involved in some sexual activities, and not just with anyone. According to Rod, Diddy also tried to get him involved with fellow producer Stephen Aaron Jordan, better known as Stevie J. For those of you who don't know, Stevie J is well known in the music industry and first made waves in the 1990s as a member of the Hitman production team at Bad Boy Records. We're talking about timeless songs like Mo Money Mo Problems by the infamous Big, I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy, and Honey by Mariah Carey. This man was in the trenches with Diddy, producing some of the biggest successes in hip-hop and R&B. According to Jones, Diddy allegedly promised to pull some strings and ensure that Lil Rod would win Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he complied with Diddy's demands, and it doesn't end there. Stevie J's work even earned him a Grammy Award in 1997 for his role in Puff Daddy's No Way Out album. Diddy allegedly offered Jones some cocaine during Thanksgiving in 2022 at his Miami mansion, but Jones declined, and then they went to the bathroom. That's when things took a bad turn, according to Jones, when one of Young Miami's cousins allegedly barged into the bathroom and began groping him. Jones thinks Diddy planned the entire incident, sending her in to attack him. However, she wasn't finished. After falling to her knees and attempting to have oral sex with him, Jones was able to push her away and leave the restroom. But she wasn't backing down that easily. She followed him out, taking off her clothes and attempting to straddle him, in front of Diddy and his staff as if it were nothing. Jones then pushed her off again, and the lawsuit even includes photos from that day that further support Jones's claims. According to the lawsuit, Diddy went one step further and repeatedly showed Jones videos of individuals getting it on at his cribs, which Jones thinks were surreptitiously captured by covert cameras placed throughout Diddy's residences. Jones supposedly had hundreds of hours of crazy video and audio after Diddy took his phone and began recording himself. The lawsuit also includes screenshots from the alleged video that shows Diddy with minors and a sex worker, which supports the allegations against him. However, the first significant revelation came from Cassie Diddy's ex-girlfriend, whose lawsuit started a chain reaction and allowed other accusations to surface. According to Cassie's lawsuit, she first met Diddy in 2005 when she was just 19 years old, full of dreams and ready to pursue her career. However, things quickly took a dark turn after they started dating, as she detailed years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse that left her feeling trapped and helpless right away. Diddy allegedly took complete control of Cassie's life and would regularly give her drugs like cocaine and ecstasy, allegedly using them to keep her under his thumb. In one incident back in 2009, things got particularly dark after she spoke to another music manager, and Diddy allegedly pushed her into a car and stomped on her face. However, this violence wasn't just hidden behind closed doors. In 2016, one of these violent moments was captured on camera, and that footage leaked in 2024, making headlines earlier this year. The leaked video showed Diddy assaulting Cassie in a Los Angeles hotel hallway, exposing the abuse she had endured for years, but it went beyond simple physical violence. Beyond the physical and psychological abuse, Cassie also disclosed the emotional torture she endured while being coerced into Diddy's deranged fantasies, where he would frequently direct sexual acts between her and prostitutes during filming. These sessions were driven by heavy drug use and left Cassie degraded and humiliated. Even though Cassie dropped the lawsuit within a day of filing, it was like opening the floodgates because it prompted other women to come forward with their own accusations, further inflaming Diddy's reputation. She claimed that Diddy used manipulation to keep Cassie bound to him, suppressing her music and controlling her career to ensure she stayed in line and kept her dependent on him for over 10 years. Joy Dickerson, who filed a shocking lawsuit dating back to 1991, alleges that Diddy drugged and sexually assaulted her during a dinner at Syracuse University. She claims he spiked her drink, making her barely able to stand, and then took advantage of her by filming the entire incident, but it didn't end there. Joy asserts. Then there is Jane Doe, who filed her own lawsuit in December 2023, accusing Diddy and singer Aaron Hall Uffing up on her and a friend over 30 years ago after a party at Uptown Records. According to Doe, Diddy and Hall forced them into sexual acts, and things took a turn for the worse when Diddy allegedly became violent. She claims that Diddy choked her until she passed out to prevent her from telling anyone what happened, and just when you thought the accusations couldn't get any messier, Diddy circulated the footage as revenge porn. As previously mentioned, Gina Hughes' previous allegations have come to light again, making it more difficult to follow the drama surrounding Diddy. She and Diddy had an intermittent relationship for years, and she claims that it wasn't just rocky, it was downright abusive. In previous interviews, she has been outspoken about the violence, describing how Diddy would hit her, hurt her, and even stomp on her stomach during one argument. Gina explained how the physical and emotional assault affected her ability to depict Diddy's darker side in yet another painting.
He stomped on my stomach really hard, and I took the wind out of my breath. I couldn't breathe. Took my hair and was dragging me across the grass in my hair with my hair.
However, it went beyond the physical harm. Gina stated that Diddy would degrade her by comparing her to Cassie and telling her that Cassie was the nice one and she was the terrible one, just as Cassie Gina had to endure ongoing emotional and mental abuse.
He would always compare me to Cassie and tell me that I'm the bad one and she's the good one.
And even though these stories are shocking, Diddy's scandals go far beyond his relationships. One of the most bizarre of these is a woman who claims Diddy shot her in the face. It all stems from the 1999 Club New York shooting, which took place in the early hours of December 27th in Manhattan. The place was packed. The energy was high, and then suddenly there were gunshots, sending the entire club into chaos. In the midst of it all, Nada Rubin was shot in the eyes and miraculously survived, but she has had pieces of the bullet stuck in her face ever since. This is where it gets even more bizarre. Jamal Shine Barrow was found guilty of the shooting and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Rubin has been asserting for years that Diddy was the one who fired the shot, not Shine.
You have said since really right after the shooting that it was P. Diddy who shot you.
I said it immediately. I literally watched them pull out the guns. I've had a clear point of view. I mean, for God's sake, I got shot in my neck.
Rubin claims to have witnessed Diddy shoot the gun, and she is so determined to prove it that she is willing to have the bullet fragment taken out of her face as proof. Although Diddy was arrested following the shooting, but was found not guilty of any charges, some claim this was part of a larger conspiracy to shield him and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, who was also present at the club that night. Rubin isn't letting it go. She has been fighting for years to have the case reopened, and in 2008 she hit Diddy with a $130 million lawsuit. The case was eventually settled in 2011, but Rubin is still speaking out, claiming Diddy is to blame, and she won't stop until the truth is revealed. Diddy's name has also surfaced in relation to another significant controversy, the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur. According to court documents filed in 2024, Dwayne Keffe D. Davis, who was arrested in connection with Tupac's murder, claimed that Diddy paid $1 million to have Tupac killed. This feud between Diddy's Bad Boy Records on the East Coast and Death Row Records, led by Suge Knight, was one of the most notorious rivalries in hip-hop. During the height of the East Coast versus West Coast feud, the documents reveal that Diddy was allegedly willing to go to great lengths to protect his empire, including putting a hit on Tupac and Suge Knight. Davis acknowledged that Diddy...
We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense.
Kim died from pneumonia, but there's the first coroner's report that said that she died. It was ruled a homicide, and they found toxins in her body to prove that she had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like.
Some conspiracy theorists think Diddy's is somehow involved, and that's not even the end of it. The fact that Fahim eventually collaborated with Diddy just serves to fuel the flames. Jaguar Wright, who has been making headlines for her claims that Diddy was involved in the death of his ex-wife Kim Porter, has made some outrageous accusations.